r/AskReddit. Parents of Reddit, what is most ducked up secret you are hiding from your children? I'm the child, but my dad waited till I'm grown up to tell me that my mom gave me a lot of sleeping pills when I was a little child, so she could leave me alone at home to maintain her relationship with her lover while my dad was working in another country. That cleared up many things. Not mine, but my sister's oldest doesn't know that her younger sister, whom she loved with all her heart, was kidnapped, aped and then shot in the head. She believes that the younger one died in a car accident. That's pretty effed up according to me. That is ducked. I've been telling my sister that she needs to come clean since her daughter is old enough to understand why they must have it, but she won't budge, saying that she might cut off ties with her and it may affect her studies. As her aunt, I can only stand and support her when the truth comes though. That we weren't actually visiting daddy at his work. It's a secure psychiatric ward where he's been since she was 3 months old. I'm curious how your relationship started with the father. Sounds like an interesting story. We met a few years before. He always had issues, but so did I, and we were madly in love. Things were going well for a while for both of us until I got pregnant. His mental health got worse and worse until he got sectioned and ended up where he is now. That we're divorced. Years before they came along, spouse and I decided it wasn't working out and got divorced. Years later, things still weren't working out fantastically for both of us, so we got back together. Never did get around to getting remarried though. What are you gonna do when they fill out forms for FAFSA or other legal documents they need help with? This is a legitimate question. LOL edit. I know this won't affect the aid they receive, since the parents live together and the kid is dependent from both, but FAFSA asks whether or not your parents are legally divorced regardless. So my point is that the kid would find out through this process. It costs $150 and 15 minutes to go to the court and get the papers filed. Easy remedy. Although, you may get more from FAFSA if you only file as having one parent. My parents told me my sister is adopted. They didn't tell her. She's 34. BTW help, what do I do? Buy the whole family DNA test kits for Christmas and watch the world burn. That I don't actually enjoy watching Mickey Mouse Clubhouse. My 2-year-old would be devastated because that's our show. I was so relieved when my kid started watching SpongeBob. I'm not the parent, I'm the child. But my family kept it a secret that my brother was a child molester and that my grandpa had aped my mother and threatened to kill us grandkids. I found out because I told my sister that my brother had molested me and she told me about the rest. We were raised having a relationship with them like they were normal human beings. It's absolutely disgusting. My uncle molested all 3 of his sisters and everyone acts like it's no big deal. It's just not talked about at all. I don't speak to him because my father told me when I was very young to never be in a room alone with him, but also because he is an insufferable C who thinks he's better than everyone. My daughter knows that her grandparents are getting a divorce. She doesn't know that it's because grandpa, 74, decided to knock up a 23-year-old. We will talk about it once she's older, but I don't want to normalize that relationship for a pre-adolescent. So the aunt will be younger than the niece? Quiet down, Jon Snow. Not really ducked up, but still a big secret. I've been living 5-1/2 hours away from my wife and daughter for the past 11 months. Every time I talk to my daughter she asks, when am I coming home? Well, little does she know that next Friday, when her and her mom come for what she thinks is just a weekend visit, they are actually coming to pick me up for good. I never actually took his nose. It stayed on his face the whole time. In fact, it has never once left his face, even though I have told him that I took it countless times. I even showed him the tip of my thumb as evidence of the theft. Sorry you had to read that, but it feels really good to come clean. Edit. Thanks for all the responses, or some. I will tell him the truth eventually, but have to make sure mom is on board. 2. For those of you condemning me, your words weigh heavy, but honesty, much like a fire at the circus, is intense. That we don't go to bed the same time as they do. That's me every night at bedtime. Daughter, books. Me, no more books. Time for night night. Daughter, books. Me, no more books. Time for night night. Daughter, mama. Me, mama went night night. Time for night night. Daughter, daddy. Me, yes, I'm going night night too. It's 6:45, of course I'm not going night night. New throwaway for this one. That my adopted daughter was conceived as a result of a gang ape. Experts say you are supposed to give your adopted children all of their history when they are old enough. But honestly, if it were me, I would just rather not know. We are considering not ever telling her. It weighs heavy on our hearts. My son's older half-sister molested him, and that's why we don't see them anymore. Waiting until we can get into a psych for support before we break it to him. I'm the child, but my grandma was so mad at my mom dating young and getting pregnant that she lost her first 2 pregnancies because my grandma made her brothers beat my mom until she had miscarriages. It hurts my heart. I don't have kids, but here's a family secret. My mom and I left the straightener on for 2 days while we took a family trip to Canada. It doesn't have an automatic off. We haven't told my dad. Did it work? Or is your house still gay? It's flaming. Kind of the opposite, but on my 18th birthday my father walked into my room with a bag of weed and a bunch of rolling papers and showed me the entire hidden portion of our house, not on blueprints, accessed through hidden door, that he used to grow weed. I had gotten grounded for smoking weed several times by that point in my life. This was in Florida in the 90s. I secretly bought my son after my wife lost our own child during birth. It's quite easy in my country considering there's a lot of poor parents willing to give away their children. My wife regained consciousness after 4 days. Neither her nor my son know this. What country? Mississippi. My 3-year-old is an absolute miracle. Her birth mom, my wife's sister, didn't want her. Basically tried for an intentional miscarriage via massive drinking and drug use. Born 10 weeks premature. She shouldn't even be alive by most medical estimations. Yet here she is. Slight developmental setbacks, but she is solidly inside the bell curve. Her socialization is on point, and she should start school on time. She will know none of this until she is in her teens. Most likely. I am so grateful for this impossible little person. My wife and I each have a child from a previous marriage. Both of our ex-spouses were abusive cheaters. Both children still adore and idolize their other parent, and we just keep smiling and nodding. This probably isn't the type of thing OP was asking, but it is a secret that we will maintain for years. My father molested my daughter. She suppressed the hell out of it. We are still trying to figure out how to break this to her. We cut off all contact with them. But my mother feels that this is something that shouldn't affect their relationship if my daughter doesn't actually remember the incident. I don't agree at all, but that doesn't stop my mother from trying to contact us. She comes from an age when women just suffered and said nothing about it, and so feels that we should just accept my father's apology and move on. It's overall a very confusing situation that we, my husband and I, have trouble understanding how to handle. A colleague of mine has a friend who hid from her 8-year-old daughter that she, the 8-year-old, would die within a few years because of a terminal illness she got. I can see this. My daughter was just born with a rare congenital heart defect. She'll be aware she has it as she grows, but at some point we're going to have to tell her she'll be lucky to live to 40. That conversation is many years away, but it churns my stomach thinking about the burden she'll carry. I have a condition where the diagnostic and surgical techniques to fix it were incredibly crude 40 years ago, and I would have had a 50/50 shot of dying from it. Nowadays, it's incredibly rare that people die from this. So keep your chin up. 40 years is an eternity in medical science. Your daughter's condition might be treatable by the time her heart is overdue. My son was planned, but after separating from his father when my son was 8 months old and having basically nowhere to go, no way to actually take care of us on our own, many times I thought about the possibility of dropping him off at the hospital and skipping town. I never did, and he is 8 now and we are very happy. Adoptive parent of 3 kids, 2 of which are biological siblings and cousins. Found out a year after the adoption that the biological parents were half siblings who shared the same dad. The bio parents found out after they had the first child and proceeded to have another. The kids are now 16 and 13 respectively and have zero clue that they are a product of incest. Unfortunately, their biological grandpa just passed away, so there very well could be a big reveal coming in the near future. That she can't have a relationship with her grandfather because he is a pedophile and I would never trust him. The rest of my family maintains a relationship with him and leans on me hard to open up communication because family comes first. They are absolutely right. My family does come first, which is why my daughter won't ever have to have a relationship with him. Please ducking like and subscribe.